Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, I'm Ashton Gene Lewis. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. For some of you, it is going to be some of the first things that you hear from this show in the year 2022 because it is New Year's Day on the East Coast. I'm in the Central Time Zone, so if you're listening live, it is 11:02 p.m., so we're going to try and get through this show pretty quickly here, and then we'll talk about, my year this past year, and of course that's going to involve a lot of rambling. I do have some gin that my boy Leo got for me on my birthday, which was July 15th. Have not opened it. Shout out to Hendrick's Gin. I'm assuming it's the good stuff because Leo gets the good stuff. And shout out to him. He got me this gin, and he got me a cigar on the day where I actually broke my leg. We would retroactively, later on in the summer, we would find out that I had multiple stress fractures from a tackle in Quidditch from. So shout out to him for showing up. One, because he showed up to my birthday party. One of my most loyal friends, and I appreciate him very much, despite the fact that he is no longer in regular attendance on this show. But if we want to get the show done before it's New Year's on, and maybe I'll have to do it in the year 2022 where I reflect on 2021. But nonetheless, if we want to get the show done and keep it moving and do some fun stuff towards the end of it or whatever, which of course the entire show was a lot of fun. Let's be for real. I have to explain one thing though. If you've noticed the name of the episode, it's Quarantine New Year's Eve, because your boy suspects that he may have contracted the Omicron virus, Omicron variant of the Rona, because the last couple of days I've been coughing up like mucus and phlegm or whatever, which apparently you know what, man? I don't even pretend to know the symptoms of COVID anymore. I had a respiratory infection last week. If you remember, you listened to the show. This one feels a little bit different. It actually doesn't feel as bad as it did last week, which is the weird part. Because the one I had last week, it actually got so bad, and if you're a person that has like respiratory issues like asthma or anything like that, you know what this feeling is. It's like when you cough and your whole back itches / hurts because of like the amount of times your lungs have had to expand to that size based off of a cough or whatever. So I had that going on this week so much. I had a couple of days before I coughed a bunch, and I coughed a good amount, and I spit the phlegm out naturally, because kids, if you're out there listening, the best thing you can do is spit the phlegm out. That is your body attempting to void whatever is collecting either in places like your trachea or your esophagus or something like that, or in your lungs in certain cases. That is why smokers have a smoker's cough. It is the constant attempt to get the horrible material from cigarettes out of your lungs. So, but yeah, just keep that in mind. If you ever get sick, if you want to get over it pretty quickly, you need to cough the phlegm up as quickly as possible. Your key to surviving, or not even surviving, your key to feeling better faster is coughing the phlegm up, because every time you re-swallow the phlegm or don't cough the phlegm back up, your body has to restart the process over with, and that's actually how you end up with, if you've ever had like muscle aches after you've been sick, in terms of like your abdomen or like your back or your chest or anything like that, it's because your body had to cough twice or 3 times as much to get the phlegm out of your system, right? And when you do that, it's like a workout, almost like a workout, like for your internal organs, and it's the worst kind of workout possible for your internal organs. I'm not even gonna lie. When I was a kid, I used to hold the phlegm in all the time because I never had a place to like put it or anything like that. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten into the habit of either having like a trash bag nearby or a towel where you just like spit onto the towel kind of deal, and then you take the towel out and wash it and all that kind of jazz like that. And yeah, even if it's just all spit, you never know how much phlegm is going to be in that spit. It is 100% worth it, which is a weird way to start the show. I'm not even going to lie. I just giving some help, just giving some medical advice, unsolicited medical advice from a guy who has been, I would say, a sickly child. I've had respiratory infections out the wazoo. I've had asthma most of my life. Luckily, I outgrew that, and then lo and behold, I developed a disease that's only been recorded in 2 people under the age of 50 in America, called sarcoidosis. I had that for a good chunk of time. There was speculation that it could be something that killed me at one point. Anyway, that's actually how I gained 100 pounds in a year, guys. Shout out to steroids. 100 pounds of fat, by the way. Not the good stuff. Anyway, there's that. But we need to actually start the show. We got all kinds of stuff. I got nerd news. I got best of the best, worst of the worst. I've got, let's see. We talking money? Or are we talking money? No, I do not. We're going to talk about the NBA. We're going to talk about the NFL. We're going to kind of mix in what happened last week into talking about this week. Some playoff spots have been locked up. There's a lot of there's more playoff spots available than the ones that have been locked up so far, which of course makes each one of these games coming up. Basically, what's going to happen the rest of this week is like half the teams that are playing that are eligible for a playoff spot are going to get eliminated. So it's going to be sick. It's going to be sick because desperation makes people do amazing things. And like I've said before on this show, I love seeing people do amazing things athletically. So, we got that going on, and we'll dive right into it. We'll start off with nerd news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy about this one. This is a warning, as a matter of fact. I am happy that I am able to tell you that I've watched Encanto. This is a personal warning from me to you. Do not watch this with your family. Do not watch this without a box of tissues, because I actually cried pretty hard at the end of this movie. Encanto is I give you the premise, the plot, whatever it is. It's about a family of people who have like magical powers from a certain source point, and the story talks about the story is centered around a young lady who is the main character, obviously, and she's one of the people in her family that does not have a magical power. And as time goes on, you start to understand that like it's something that actually happens to people on a regular basis. It doesn't even have to be family. It is the only valuing a person for what they can do for you, and it's even more heart-wrenching when it comes from your own family. You should definitely watch the story. It is a story about family. It is a story about small connections within each family, how you connect from one person to another, how you connect with the older people in your family, how there are different generations and how those generations act around each other, how they act with the generations that are younger and the generations that are older, the importance of a matriarchy, the importance of really adults within the grand scheme of things in terms of like how you can build a family, because how you started your family is not necessarily how you should continue to push it forward to make it better than when it initially started. Times have changed and you need to change with it, that kind of stuff like that. It is a beautiful story about a family, and so many people can relate to it, especially in the time period that we live in now, where so many more people are way more open about their struggles with mental health and the constant pressures that they feel are placed upon them. I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to relate to a lot of characters. Me in particular, I related to Luisa to a certain degree. And after you watch the movie, we can talk about it. You can hit me up on Twitter, FB_playbook, on Instagram at The Ashton Forever, on TikTok at The Ashton Forever as well. As I've been in quarantine, I've actually just been making like random TikToks that apparently one of them kind of semi blew up. I think it's got like the most likes on any TikTok I've made ever. So yeah, got that going on. And it turns out when you're locked in your room, the only thing you can do is like get kind of like exude and get energy out. I've watched so many shows, guys, in the last couple of days. I'm currently watching and catching up on All American. Turns out I'm actually 2 seasons behind instead of 1, so I'm in the clear. I watched the Book of Boba Fett, the first episode. 100% worth it. My cousin Josh hit me up and he was just like, bro, like, do I need to watch The Mandalorian? I don't think he has very much context for who Boba Fett is, and I actually I don't know, like, do regular or general Star Wars fans know who Boba Fett is other than, like, that kid from Clone Wars, which is who he is. He's the son of Jango Fett, if you don't know. Boba Fett is the son of Jango Fett, and I actually read the book that I wouldn't even say it's based off of that, because the book that I read was a Star Wars novel that was about what happened to Boba after Jango was killed. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. After Jango was killed in the events of like the Clone Wars and all that kind of stuff. Like, was it Clone Wars who he got killed? Anyway, after all that stuff happened, I read a book on what happened to Boba and how he survived and became who he is today, which apparently, like, you know, the Book of Boba Fett is about him as an adult, and as a matter of fact, him as a very much significantly older adult. And if you don't know the significance of Jango and Boba Fett, Jango is the person that every clone trooper has the DNA of in their body. If you don't understand that concept, the clone troopers from the Clone Wars were originally copies of one person, and they chose Jango Fett because of his elite level like killing ability and physical prowess and all that kind of stuff like that. And he actually requested that he get a clone that grows up like a normal person, because all the clones grew up within the span of like a couple of years to become fully adult males. And they've actually they spend a lot of time doing genetic experiments. That's where the Bad Batch comes from. They're supposed to be like attempts to magnify certain aspects of Jango Fett's DNA sequence to create like guys that have like super sharp accuracy, or guys that are super strong, or guys that have crazy high level tracking ability, right? That is a thing that they tried to do, and that's what the Bad Batch is centered around. And Jango requested a clone that grows up like a normal person, and that clone was Boba. He is his son. He treats him like his son, and he has trained him to become the person that he is. Anyway, I don't know why we got on that while I was doing nerd news about Encanto, but I definitely suggest you watch the Book of Boba Fett. Also, 100%, shout out to my friend Autumn. She's a huge movie / TV buff, and she actually works in the industry. But she's a big fan of the Wheel of Time. I don't know if she's read the books, because apparently there's like 14 of them, according to my friend Beth. But I watched the Wheel of Time in about 2 days, and you should that was before I got sick, right? By the way, I have been tested. I just haven't got my results back, in case anybody was wondering. But yeah, that's a whole situation that's going on. Definitely worth checking out. The Wheel of Time. It is an Amazon Prime show, and it is worth it. Especially if you already have Amazon Prime, you can take it's free for you to watch it. So check that out. Anyway, moving on. Got to get to the hydration break quick, guys. Best of the best, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel like it's pretty fitting that I chose this as best of the best here. If you're watching this, you're the best of the best because you made it. There's a lot of people who cannot say that they survived this long into 2021. And I guess this is a good time as any to raise a glass, take a sip, and honor the great legacy of Betty White. One of the realest to ever do it. One of the greatest human beings to ever walk this earth. Shout out to her and everything she represented. She inspired women for generations. Like, there's no question about that whatsoever. Truly a level of comedy, genius, and skill that, let's be for real, there's probably not going to be anybody who gets to that level at any point. True greatness, really. And it's wild to think about, like, you can sit here and talk about Golden Girls, but Betty White as a comedian and as a performer is amazing. But Golden Girls, of course, has got to be, if she's got a crown and it's got multiple jewels in it, Golden Girls has got to be pretty close to the center. Like, it's got to be either slightly to the left or slightly to the right to the crown jewel there, or anything like that. But yeah, Golden Girls, truly iconic, pivotal type show that inspired multiple generations of human beings and will continue to inspire multiple generations of human beings about their perspectives on lives, their perspective on life. I can tell you this right now: Golden Girls is about 4 white women in a basically like a pseudo retirement home, right? In their life, going about it and everything like that, which of course you could say is like an inspiration for Sex and the City, which it kind of is. Anyway. The other thing to go along with that is that the number of people who have watched Golden Girls, including myself, right? But the number of hardcore Golden Girls fans range the gambit. I listened to this podcast called The Read. One of the hosts, who is a black gay Jamaican man named Kid Fury, is a massive Golden Girls fan. He can quote. They literally used to open the show with his co-host reading off a quote from Golden Girls, and Kid Fury had to guess which character said it, and he actually not only would consistently guess which character said it, but he could also be able to tell you what episode it was. It was pretty trippy. But yeah, Golden Girls and what Betty White did with her entire comedic career, and of course I never knew Betty White as a person or anything like that, but she was clearly a person that inspired great love across many different spectrums of people. And should be something we all kind of aspire to be in terms of like our influence on others. But she did not make it, sadly, into the year 2022. I have not technically made it into the year 2022. I've got a little bit under 45 minutes before I'm officially there in the Central Time Zone. But shout out to everybody else who did. It has been, the last 2 years have been a nightmare for some, a dream for others, and then a fever dream for some people. A dream turned to a nightmare turned to a dream. A lot of people have We've lost a lot of people. We've gained new people. We've gained a new appreciation for people across the gambit. We've learned a lot. We've forgotten a lot. A lot of people have grown more ignorant. A lot of people have gotten smarter. But we are here. And that is step one to trying to aspire to be better. You got to show up. Anyway, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to you and shout out to our first hydration break of the Brook Boy Sports Podcast. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, it will be, it looks like we're going to be gone for about 3 minutes and 8 seconds. When we come back, we're going to talk about the worst thing in sports that I saw this week. Right here on the Brook Boy Sports Podcast. Oh, wow. Okay. That was a really sudden ending there right there. My bad. I was not looking at the timer. Shout out to everybody who's joining us either live or retroactively on the podcast or anything like that. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. If you've been looking for us, we are here. You found the right place. If you were on the stream and you saw me making weird faces into my camera, it's because multiple people, and once again, I mentioned this in the pre-show part of the show, where I sat and talked into the camera and literally then said nothing for 30 minutes while I continued to do some more research before I finished up the show. But there are multiple people who have already sent me like Happy New Year's, which I found to be weird because they're in the Central Time Zone just like I am, and it's 11:21. I think they're just sending it before they get absolutely hammered. And if that's the case, I respect it. I'm respected. Anyway, other stuff to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen. We do at some point have to talk about a very sad story because, as you know, this show bills itself as the best and the worst that sports has to offer every single week. This one kind of comes with a lesson overall. Worst of the worst this week is the passing of Billy and Taylor Price's son that was a miscarriage, actually. So Taylor Price had a miscarriage of her 15-week pregnancy, and Billy Price, the center for the New York Giants, who is probably not going to be playing this Sunday, took to Instagram to mourn his son, which I found to be one pretty brave, because losing someone is difficult no matter what phase it is. But he had also posted about his joy about being a father for the first time, which is what was going to happen here. Like, the kid was going to be their first child, and I'm assuming of many, maybe, perhaps. But the kid was going to be their first of many, and he is no longer with us. He said goodbye to his son on Instagram. Well, of course, he said goodbye to his son when he passed away, but nonetheless, he kind of was open about his trauma and his tragedy, which I feel is massively important because not for Billy, but for Taylor Price's wife, right? Taylor is going through a very semi-common tragedy that a lot of women, including plenty that you know, whether you believe it or not, have experienced in some way, shape, or form. I know multiple friends who have had miscarriages and had to give birth, and in certain cases, give birth to the corpse of their child. So, an experience that a man will never understand, right? That is something that for a long time, like in American society, don't know about other societies and cultures and stuff like that, but for the most part, in America, when it comes to stuff like miscarriages, a lot of women have been, or have felt like they've been put in this position of having to feel ashamed about it, right? Because they feel like it's their fault. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing you blame, right? Like, that's the number one person you blame in a situation where it's like, I'm gestating or I'm growing a human being and I'm responsible for it, and it dies. Therefore, it is my fault. That is not the case. Like, you got to chalk that one up to the brutality of nature. But we, as a society, need to be a significantly more welcoming and not even welcoming, significantly more supportive of women who go through this kind of tragedy. Because I've heard horror stories about, finding out that one or two of your twins are stillborn when they come out of the womb. I've heard that story from a friend of mine's cousin, and legitimately the trauma and the reaction to it afterwards is some horrifying stuff that I will never experience. But I definitely know that when somebody goes through a loss like that, they need as much support as they possibly can get. They don't need to feel like they should be by themselves, because it's just like a person who has a mother or father or a person that they love die. They need the community and the people around them to rally around them. They don't need to feel that sense of shame. And even if they feel that sense of shame, they should also feel that sense of love that goes along with it. So worst of the worst is obviously Taylor's miscarriage and Taylor and Billy having to wait to find out if they're going to be parents a little bit longer. And but most importantly, the worst of the worst is our kind of like societal pressure about miscarriages and stuff like that. Because like I said before, I felt it was pretty brave for Billy to come forward about it, and I feel like a lot of women that I've been lucky enough to be close enough to, that they tell me about their miscarriage or tell me about situations where that they felt like that was going to happen. And we need to get to a place where people don't feel shame about it. And a lot of people who have never experienced what it's like to even carry a child kind of get to steer where we go on this narrative. I feel like a lot of people would agree with that. A lot of men seem to be able to feel like they are in a position to be able to say anything that actually matters in regards to a miscarriage. But nonetheless, just want people to be more readily and more cognizant of that situation when they do hear about it. It's a situation that person needs support. So there's that. We move on from worst of the worst to another person who did not make it to 2021, sadly. Just a couple of days ago, we found out about the passing of one legendary John Madden, at 85 years old, one of the greatest to ever do it in multiple facets of his life. If I could be half as great as John Madden in one of the things that I want to be successful at, I call it a good life. But from coaching to broadcast, changing the way that broadcasting is looked at and expected to be forever, literally changed the parameters for what football, NFL football broadcasting is supposed to be. Like really writing the rule book essentially on what it is to be a color analyst and what a color analyst should be trying to do, can be imitated, never duplicated, as we see with the Tony Romo situation we got going on right now. But nonetheless, raise a glass, take a sip. Thanks for all the great memories, John Madden. I know I was a kid when you're in your heyday in terms of as a football coach, but you know, you've had influence, once again, another person that's had massive influence on generations and generations of sports fans at multiple facets. I'm a person who aspires to be a sportscaster, so obviously I've listened to my share of John Madden broadcasts to try and learn from some of the best, and it is, like I said before, the guy's influenced my life in a lot of different ways, whether it be from video games to broadcasting, probably the most prominent being the broadcasting situation in the video games, and then of course changing football forever as well. One of the most dominant head coaches to ever coach in the NFL. That's just how it is. Sad to say, that's how we're gonna go. That's how we're ending. That's how we're ending 2021. With the death of two very pivotal people for a lot of human beings. But nonetheless, we move on to our next and final hydration break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NBA and the NFL right here on the Broke Boys Sports Podcast. As soon as I pick a song, we'll be talking about that. Let's see. Yeah, let's go Not Too Far Behind by Christina Gucas. Shout out to her for always letting us use her music on this show. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Back here live on the Broke Boys Sports Podcast. We got two things left to talk about, and then I guess we can talk about life and stuff like that. Somehow, we crammed like we crammed like 4 stories into like this really small span of time, and it's only 11:32. Maybe it's because I'm drinking the gin fast enough. Is that what gin's power is? It slows down time. Anyway. We are live here on the Broke Boys Sports Podcast. If you are listening live, shout out to you. If you are watching live, you're watching either on Twitch or on YouTube, where you can find the channel at Broke Boys Sports. After this whole thing is over with, you know, if you're hopped in live or whatever, feel free to write into the chat. Literally, you can write about anything that you want. I wanted to do one on New Year's Eve for all the people who would be locked inside like myself, which... If you haven't heard, if you missed the first part of the show, I am technically, I'm in a precautionary quarantine. I do not have evidence that I'm actually sick from COVID-19. I did get tested yesterday, so I was waiting on results. And in the span of me waiting on results, I am choosing to not be out in the world on the off chance that I am actively spreading COVID-19, even though I am vaccinated. I have not gotten my booster shot yet. I was supposed to get that yesterday, but because I could potentially have COVID, I decided to not do that. But anyway, other stuff going on. We have multiple things to talk about in the final segment of the show. A lot of them involve game predictions, and I guess I should pull up this one thing because I don't think I've done a games update in terms of predictions and stuff like that. A games update overall in terms of how the picks are doing this season. If you don't know, when we do the NFL only show, which I haven't been doing the last couple of weeks because life is absolutely insane this time of the year. But nonetheless, God damn it, I think I just totally messed up something in my fantasy basketball league because the games were earlier. So I definitely did not change my lineup, and I sat 70 points on the bench. So no way that's going to come to bite me in the ass at the end of the week. But hey, if you're a fantasy basketball person, this is your reminder to check your roster. Sorry. I don't think that was a COVID cough. Did it sound like a COVID cough? 140 plus 75. So I've placed predictions on 215 games so far this season. 140 divided by 215, which means that our selection percentage for what is correct and what is incorrect is at 65%. I feel like that's pretty good. Especially since the betting percentage is supposed to be 55. And we're in the 83rd percentile of people on ESPN. And I know there are people who just aren't making picks. I will admit this, on Thursday Night Football, I typically don't even make a selection. But for everything else, every other day, every other week, I'm picking every game that's on Sunday and all the other days as well. Thursday Night Football is the one I kind of forget sometimes, even though I do write a breakdown for Thursday Night Football in my document every single time we do the recap. So we're at 65% picking percentage. Subtle flex. We got a couple weeks left. We could probably get that up a little bit. We were one game away from a perfect week 3 weeks ago. No big deal. Anyway, we move on. Let's talk about some hoops. Let's talk about basketball. Let's talk about the NBA. I am trying to do I'm trying to work on a TikTok series where I summarize what happened in the NBA in like a minute. So I actually this is like a precursor to that in the sense of I try and summarize what happened in the last week of the NBA on this show in like a really quick fashion and kind of go down by like key things that happen for individual teams and then stuff that happened overall in the league. Big thing overall in the league, no big deal. Everybody calm down. The Bulls are very good at basketball again. They are first place in the Eastern Conference. They are currently tied with 23 wins with the Brooklyn Nets, but they are back in first place because earlier this season they were already in first place, but then COVID hit, and I think they lost DeMar DeRozan, who actually had COVID. He wasn't asymptomatic. He actually was symptomatic, and he actually missed like multiple games, like a lot of players in the NBA. And I actually am not a big supporter of this concept of like, oh man, we can't really like, be sad, or like we can't really have one group of players where we're just like, oh, it's no big deal because everybody has COVID, and then recognize that like COVID has affected the ability for teams to be their full-fledged version of themselves, right? Which obviously what we're learning right now is that a lot of teams in the NBA don't have the depth that they think that they do when it comes to basketball players. Because, man, if you were one of those players at the end of the bench that was like coasting, really, unless you caught COVID and you got out there and you had to start and stuff like that, man, you want to talk about assessment minutes. You had to go out there and play like you was a starter. It was like a surprise final exam. It was like a surprise midterm, right? For some of these rookie players and stuff like that. And of course, they want to hoop in the NBA, so they just want to go out there and play. But it's also like you're like the 10th guy in the rotation. You're like our 10th man in our rotation. You're like the 13th man in our rotation, which, by the way, is not in the rotation. You're at the end of the bench. You're a rookie that we haven't even decided that we're going to put into a situation to go play into a game, right? Because you're on a team that's so good that you're on a team that's like got a chance for the playoffs, and we're not in like sell mode just yet. When I mean sell mode, I mean sell as in like sell the game. They're not in that mode yet. So they're allowing like all the starters to go out there and play as many minutes as they need to go out there and get every single win that they possibly can, because as we've seen, getting into that play-in tournament is a fucking kiss of death. Like, it is terrible being in that play-in tournament because you end up playing a really good team, and then your reward for playing a team that's like right around your level is to go play a team that is theoretically significantly better than your team. So, terrible reward. I know it gets more players into the playoffs, but it's like more games to get to a game where you're more than likely going to get absolutely smoked. But hey, it's playoff revenue share, and I'm sure that's what the teams are only concerned about, right? But yeah, if you're one of those players on the end of the bench, man, surprise midterm is not great, especially if you haven't been studying them books, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they had that going on. Multiple NBA games have been postponed due to the basic requirement of needing 8 players. The NBA requires you to have 8 players to be able to play in an official game in the NBA. They have been unable to fulfill those 8 players, and so there have been multiple games postponed. One most prominently is the Warriors taking on the Denver Nuggets. Draymond Green took the internet, and he took to the internet to complain like he always does. And to his credit, he thinks everything that involves the postponement is in favor of the Denver Nuggets. And my thing is, it is one of 82. Please stop. So that's all I got to say. That one game versus the Denver Nuggets is probably not going to cost the Warriors, especially with the way that they're playing this season, a playoff spot. I know they want the best playoff spot they can possibly get, but hey, sometimes you got to make tough decisions. Life is tough. You know how that goes. Overall, I can get why you would be complaining, especially if you're the team that didn't have the outbreak, but I also feel like if you were a person with like half a sense of like half a fuck to give, you would think about like, man, what if we're in this situation next time and we want some leniency? We would like for them to reschedule the game for us. I don't know, very similar to what happened to the NFL earlier this year. But yeah, going to the internet and making people think that they should be changing the rules or influencing media members to write articles about how the rules should be changed to prevent the postponement and how one team should just forfeit. Maybe, just maybe, not the greatest idea on the face of the planet, off the off chance that you become the team that's in the position to forfeit the game. But what do I know? I'm just a dude potentially has COVID talking into a microphone. I will point this out, the technicalities of what qualifies as a person who can no longer play due to COVID are out the wazoo. If you haven't heard, the NBA is at the point now where they are not counting, if their whole policy is like, we don't care how much virus you have in your body up until this point, which of course is a very low point, right? Like they don't want other people to catch COVID and potentially end up catching a strain or end up catching a version of COVID that messes up their lungs, because we've even had messes up their lungs or like damages them like athletically because of the lack of ability to get blood flow going. We've seen that happen earlier this season. We talked about Joel Embiid and stuff like that, where he had to sit down because he got COVID. Not only did COVID affect him, but also the lack of ability to consistently train and run also affected that as well. But yeah, the technicalities out the wazoo, baby. Out the wazoo. They're talking about how I listened to Woj's pod last week, Adrian Wojnarowski's pod. Big insider, I don't know, heard of him, kind of a big deal. He has a podcast, and he talked about how he's just like, well, they keep finding more people because they keep testing, which sounds eerily reminiscent of one person. So literally, it's like verbatim of one person. I found that interesting that he said it on his podcast, especially considering what he has said about that person. But yeah, there's that going on. The NBA has been hit by COVID hard. It's still being hit very hard. But last week was, last week was a nightmare. Especially the days leading up to the Christmas Day games were probably the worst that has been in the NBA, because they were missing not only people who were injured, because at this point in the season injuries were rampant, but on top of that they were also missing people who they were also missing a ton of people who had been caught in the COVID-19 protocols, whether they actually tested positive for COVID or not, because of contact tracing and stuff like that. So I watched some of the games, but I spent most of my time watching the NFL games, which I shouldn't have done because, quite frankly, it is nothing short of a miracle that the Browns were in that game with the Packers. And that miracle is their defense. Their miracle is their defense and how dominant it is. Yeah, so the Lakers are moving on to other things that are absolutely hilarious and bonkers in the NBA right now. The Lakers are floundering. LeBron James is now, when we started this podcast, he was starting his second game in the NBA at the center position. And last week, the Lakers also lost by the largest margin in franchise history to the San Antonio Spurs, which I'm sure went over well with a lot of people within the organization, and all the Lakers fans on Twitter were very reasonable about it. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. But yeah, there's that going on with the Lakers. Also, there's been we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yeah, the Lakers have been in a rough patch, and you know how it goes. No matter what happens, when things get tough, everybody blames Russ. Regardless of all the other people that are on the court, they did not have Taylor Horton-Tucker out there that they were blaming him. Taylor Horton-Tucker was out there, but they were not blaming him for what the situation was when it was all said and done. But nonetheless, it was tough. It's been a tough go of it for the Lakers, not only injury wise, but also you can see like their shooting just isn't there. Like when you watch them, there's no consistency to who makes and does not make shots. LeBron James has had 3 games in a row where he's made 8 3-pointers at this point during the season, and he's just it's very reminiscent of the Lakers team that we saw in the playoffs just a year ago, where LeBron had more 3-pointers than the rest of the team combined together. And that's difficult I'm sure for him to stomach, because he's supposed to be making plays, not out there getting all the buckets and getting all the shots and stuff like that. So that's got to be really frustrating for him, especially considering that this team was put together obviously with the intent to win. But there is an indicator that something else may be going on in the works, because the trade deadline is just around the corner, ladies and gents. And don't forget, January 15th? January 15th is the day that all these players who signed in free agency to their individual teams are now eligible to be traded. Doesn't mean that there are going to be a lot of trades on January 15th, but after that date comes around, a lot of players in the NBA are going to be available to be traded for and traded away. So there's that. Just to keep that in mind, in case you're wondering why certain things aren't happening. Trade rumors wise, there's a big trade that did happen. But before we get to that, let's talk about a Spurs assistant coach, Becky Hammon. If you haven't heard, she's kind of a big deal in the NBA. She was pegged to be the next coach of the Spurs if she had stuck around long enough. Turns out she has elected to go and coach the WNBA powerhouse Las Vegas Aces, baby. Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait to bring home that title. I can't wait, baby. Oh, my gosh. Honestly, the Aces are one of the most ridiculously stacked teams in the history of women's basketball, so it's kind of embarrassing if they haven't already won the title. I think they have 5 players who ended up playing. Most of their roster played at the Olympics, and then they had multiple players on Team USA women's basketball, the Team USA women's basketball team that won the gold medal, and the 3-on-3 team. They had multiple players on that team, so no big deal. Subtle flex, baby. But anyway, Becky Hammon joining the fray as the Las Vegas Aces are a powerhouse organization, easily the most overpowered team in all the WNBA. And for them to not make it to the WNBA finals last year because they lost to the Phoenix Mercury was pretty rough, especially considering it was only because of the dominance of Brittany Griner in the paint. It wasn't because it was the inside-out game. It's one of the oldest and noblest moves in all of basketball. Inside out basketball wins all the time. Inside out basketball, most dominant force in all. Even before screen and roll became a thing, big guy inside, Everybody collapses on that person. They kick it out to the person who can shoot the three. Inside out basketball. Classics. And that's how they got cooked in the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, no big deal. Becky Hammon joining up with the Super Squad. Don't hear anybody complaining about that. Especially your boy. I'm super pumped about it. Can't wait to see what she does in terms of like changing around the way the league is going to be. In terms of how the team is going to run. Don't forget, Bill Laimbeer was their former head coach. No big deal. That Bill Laimbeer from the Detroit Piston Bad Boys. Has been for a while, has been there while it's been rising to power in terms of like getting some of the most dominant players on the planet to come play for the Las Vegas Aces. No big deal. Moving on to other NBA stuff. The Cleveland Cavaliers are kind of a big deal again, and it's not like a LeBron James thing. It's literally apparently all the tanking is finally panned out for him. The Cleveland Cavaliers have agreed to trade Denzel Valentine, who used to play for the Chicago Bulls. Yes, that Denzel Valentine, if you're a person who is kind of in and out of basketball all the time, to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Rajon Rondo. Don't worry, they're going to cut Denzel Valentine, apparently. That's like the whole point, to clear up roster space for them to sign somebody else. But it's also an attempt to get Rajon Rondo, who is apparently super pumped to join up with the Cavaliers, because I don't know if you heard this or not, they're 5th in the East. And it's like they're 3 games away from being like 2nd or 3rd. Yeah, no big deal. Oh, by the way, if you want to sound like a cool kid, I got you. Don't worry about it. Here, let me help you. Just say the following names in succession. Say Isaac Okoro, Jarrett Allen, and then also I want you to yell Evan Mobley for Rookie of the Year, and you'll sound like a genius. And if you really want to flex on him, you tell him, man, like once Colin Sexton gets back from his injury, we're going to be next level, bro. Or they're going to be so amazing when they get back from their when Colin Sexton gets back from his next injury. Also, if you really, if you want to get that like vascularity flex going, you talk about how Kevin Love is having a revitalization of his career. There you go. That's and by the way, all those things are true. Evan Mobley is looking like Rookie of the Year. Isaac Okoro, if you did not see, super athletic dude. He dunked on 3 Houston Rockets players. I'm not even joking. Go look it up right now. Isaac Okoro posters 3 Rockets players. They even got the photo of it. It was insane. But yeah, and it's not like one of those things where they like slid out of the way. It is they tried to block him and he dunked on all 3 of them. So like, honestly, I don't know why you even keep playing basketball once you do something like that. Like once you play basketball and you dunk on 3 people, you just walk away from the game forever. Anyway, that's what's going on with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Make sure you keep up with that. Oh, other stuff that's going on. The Suns are still the Phoenix Suns, still very good at basketball. They are still cooking. They're 2nd place in the West. The Warriors are number 1 in the West. Tell me if you've heard that one before. And then just behind them, the Utah Jazz. Oh, by the way, 33% of the coaches in the NBA have contracted COVID by testing positive for it and have been in the protocols. Doc Rivers had it. Most recently, Frank Vogel just got out of protocols. And also... wow. Who else was it? Anyway, it'll come to me at some point. Along with 30% of the refs in the NBA. Yeah, 30% of the refs in the NBA have actually contracted COVID, and they actually had to cancel one of the games because they didn't have enough refs that they can get to the game in enough time. So yeah, it is happening. It's out here. It's in the streets. Stay safe, y'all. Bradley Beal, though, on the positive front in terms of the COVID fight, has decided he's going to get vaccinated. He has caught COVID twice, and apparently that second time was one time too many for him. So shout out to him. You guys like how I'm using the cough button this week? But yeah, there's that going on. Shout out to Bradley Beal for, I guess, finally completing his research in the lab and deciding that he was going to get vaccinated. Other name, I just wrote Franz Wagner on this list. If that last name sounds familiar, it's because his brother who likes some very sketchy things on Twitter, Mo Wagner. So, Franz Wagner, who did the same thing. He went to Michigan, but apparently significantly better than his brother at basketball, or in a better situation. For the Orlando Magic, who are a bad team in the NBA, objectively, they have 7 wins on the season, and we're 30-plus games into the year. Franz Wagner's been killing it, though. Like, he's literally been dominating, not even just in a fantasy aspect of it, but when you actually watch him play, he's one of the more competent offensive players for the Orlando Magic. So shout out to him. Like one of these, like, really, if you're not paying attention to the league on that level, that's good for your health. But if you are paying attention to Franz Wagner at 11:51 on New Year's Eve, you may have a problem, which I do. I don't deny that I have a serious issue when it comes to sports. Replacement players on hardship waivers. If you haven't heard that, that's information for you as well. The NBA has allowed for hardship waivers to be converted to the fact that you have to be able to field an entire NBA team. So there have been a ton of G League players and a lot of people who, like Marquise Chris is back in the league. A lot of players who are getting signed to 10-day contracts, and they are wow. Couldn't catch that one, sorry. Getting signed to 10-day contracts, and with that being said, they are getting, like, Isaiah Thomas has played for multiple teams in 1 month, and since he's been back in the NBA. Like I said, Marquise Chris is back. Erjan Ilyasova is back in the league. Like, I'm not even joking. Yes, Illy, who was the dominant center for the Golden State Warriors when they were on the rise, and they eventually got rid of him because they said he runs too slow to keep up with our offensive pace. Which, you know, when you got guys like JaVale McGee out there, the championship king himself, you know, I understand why you want to move on from guys like Erjan Ilyasova, who is back in the NBA, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to him. Once again, they've been cracking all kinds of jokes on TikTok and on Twitter. If you 6'5" or taller and you can dunk and you got a good immune system, you can get signed to the NBA. And there's like multiple TikToks of like 6'5" dudes recording themselves dunking, getting a COVID test, and being like, "I'm ready for my deal, coach." With that being said, the last very sad note that I have written on my NBA notes for this segment is the Rockets have officially slipped back into last place in the West. They are third to last in the NBA overall, and they've given up multiple career nights to NBA players this season, and they've given up multiple sick posters. Not just that Isaac Okoro dunking on three of them type poster, like other people as well. I think there's one with like Giannis dunks on one of the centers. Anyway, they're 10-26 on the season. Don't worry, the Pistons have half as many wins. Yes, the Pistons have 5 wins on the season so far. College football stuff. If you didn't see it, the Mayo Bowl happened. Everybody jizzed their pants over it. Everybody was super pumped about it. The Mayo Bowl gimmick was perfect until those 2 young ladies who had the container of mayo hit Coach Beamer from South Carolina in the back of the head for like literally no reason. They even posted the day before that they were working on their mayo pouring form, and a lot of people got in the comments and they were like, "Oh, look, in the photo they were using heels, and then in the actual thing where they're pouring it on Beamer, they're in shoes." That's what happened. They messed it up. Like Hank Hill, when he gets to when Hank Hill gets somebody to, oh man, Danny Don Meredith. There you go. When Danny Don Meredith gets to throw a football for like Hank Hill to get like $50,000 or something like that, and he doesn't take off his coat, and Hank Hill like tackles Danny Don Meredith because he thinks he just doesn't give a shit about him winning that all that money or whatever. And then Danny Don's like, "I live like in Wisconsin and it's cold all the time. I practice all week throwing a football with my jacket on. I wouldn't want to mess up my throwing motion by taking my jacket off. That's why I left it on." See, those ladies messed up. You know what I mean? Anyway, they hit the head coach of South Carolina in the back of the head with a 4.5 pound Gatorade cooler full of mayo, and everybody loved it. They put him in concussion protocol. It doesn't matter. After a win, concussions don't even count. Like, they're not even a real thing. Like, they're not a part of the ecosystem of existence after you get hit in the head. If there's nobody there to test if you know how many fingers I'm holding up right now, who cares? You know? Are you concussed? I don't think so. We got 4 minutes until it is the year 2022 for me. So I'm going to try and power through here. And at some point, we might stop and celebrate, absorb the moment in. And they would talk about football. because we're at the point where, oh, by the way, other college football stuff. The Cheez-It Bowl happened, and for some reason, Dabo Swinney showed up to the press conference for the Cheez-It Bowl in a full-on like NASCAR fire suit, orange Clemson / Cheez-It orange fire suit. So he had that going on with him. What else? What other stupid? Oh, multiple bowl games got canceled because so many players had COVID. Texas A&M did not play in their bowl game because they had too many players with COVID. That was wild as hell to me. Other stuff going on. In like 4 minutes, we're gonna stop and I guess have a conversation about life. Not about life. We're gonna stop after the college football thing. And we're gonna talk about this year in review, and we're gonna take a drink to the beginning of 2022. At midnight Central Time, and of course I'm gonna cough my lungs out over here in the back while we play some music for a hydration break. Other stuff that went off. Oh, college football playoffs happened. Cincinnati didn't score a touchdown. Michigan scored 1 touchdown and a 2-point conversion. The group of 5 is equal to the Big Ten. Science. Pure math. Luckily, the playoff is expanding because if there's anything that says anything about this game, Cincinnati, I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you that they had a legit chance to go out there and get the win, but that was not the blowout you think it was if you watch that game. They kind of basically their offensive line like let them down. Everybody else played pretty damn well. Like the secondary played pretty well. They adjusted pretty well to the stack formations that Bama was running out there. They also did. Well, they sucked at like stopping Alabama's run game, but they kind of tuned it up when they needed to multiple times on third down. Michigan, on the other hand, they look like every other team that has played against Georgia. So, yeah, like they just didn't score. Like they scored a touchdown, and they barely got a field goal. So, Michigan, just like everybody else. There you go, ladies and gents. Their defense played pretty decent. They got some kind of pressure. I will say Georgia clearly got way more pressure because McNamara either got completely crushed multiple times or he ended up throwing it down the sideline to no one. There was also a lot of times where the offensive line got beat instantaneously. Like they snapped the ball and then a second later, 3 Georgia defensive linemen were in the backfield chasing down McNamara, who's the quarterback for Michigan. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Not great for trying to get a pass offense going when you can't pass block for half a second. And that showed itself here in the national semifinal, so we're getting the game that we all wanted. Right, guys? We're getting Bama versus Georgia. The game that we all wanted. Oh, it's Kevin in the chat. Shout out, dude. What up, man? Yeah, we are less than 30 seconds away. Well, I'm sorry, we're less than 60 seconds away. 11:59. If you're in the chat on either Twitch or YouTube, drop what you're thankful for. I'm kidding. Anyway, yeah, man, 2021 was all right. I guess we'll talk about it in review once 2022 starts. T-minus 30 seconds. That is correct. We do have a live counter. We have a live counter in the chat. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Oh, wait. No, we're 3 seconds away. It's a new year. New year, no limits. January 1st, 2022. What is up, everybody? Happy New Year, everyone. Quarantine or not, shout out to you guys. Ooh, man. Oh, I guess I should play some music. I don't know. Some celebratory music. Instead of making it like super bummer-esque right now because I'm in quarantine and you're not. Yeah. Oh, let's not pick a sad song. Yeah, let's do this one. Yeah, there we go. Happy New Year, Kevin. Hope California's done. Well, wait, are you back? Whatever. I don't know. If there was ever a song for, like, feeling like it's a new year, I feel like Dreaming in the Flames is pretty on point. Well, Kevin, it is the AM for the year 2022. Kevin, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you coming into the chat. Happy New Year. Oh, hold on a second, guys. All right, yeah. I feel pretty good, man. I don't know, man. New year, no limits. You know what I mean? I feel revitalized, is what I'll say. Later, Kevin. Can you guys see the chat? Because in my whatever, it's supposed to show up on the screen, and it's showing up on my screen in my OTS. Hold on, sorry, I gotta text my girlfriend, guys. Wow, this is gonna sound like complete shit on the podcast. I'm pretty sure this is gonna sound like shit on the podcast. I'm not even gonna lie. Anyway, I'm just glad I did it because honestly, I've been trying to find the energy to do the podcast the last couple weeks. End of the year is rough. Anyway, like energy-wise, because I had so much shit to do. I like I said before, I think the last time we did the show, I talked about like, wow, it seems like I have even less time to do my show now that I'm unemployed, which is weird. But hey, that's how it goes, man. I've been contemplating doing the whole like full-time creator type shit, but I need a lot more tech before I do that. And on top of that, like, I gotta establish myself a little bit better. Maybe that's what 22 is gonna be about. Trying to move towards full-time creator type stuff so that I can get the attention of the big media market teams, well, media companies, and then find myself somewhere doing cool things for money, for lots of money. I would like that TV money. That TV money sounds amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. All right, back to work, ladies and gents. We're 4 minutes into the year 2022, and it's time to talk about football because, come on, guys. It's America. What do you think this is? Think this is a goddamn charity or something? All right, so here's your breakdown. There are 6 teams that have already clinched a playoff spot. Don't forget they added two wild card games, one for each conference, and there's only one bye week available for a team in the playoffs. That bye week is for the number 1 seed out of each one of the different conferences, and a lot of squads are going to be trying to make a push for this last couple of weeks here. There are a lot of playoff berths that are available, but like to be honest with you, there are a lot of teams that seem like they're playoff caliber right now that are not going to make the playoffs. Or teams that are like fringe playoff caliber teams that are not going to make the playoffs that could literally beat the number 1 seed. There are a couple of teams that have shown that they have the highest of their ceiling, can beat any team in the NFL. Now, do they hit that ceiling all the time? Of course not. That's why they're a team that is fighting for a playoff spot with like 2 weeks left in the season. So this upcoming week, we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of hint at what happened last week, and then we'll talk about what happened this week as well. 1 p.m. on Fox, the Bills are taking on the Falcons. They're going to be at Buffalo. Buffalo's coming off of a big smacking of the New England Patriots, which is clutch for them. They have shown themselves to be massively inconsistent throughout the course of this season. Some of it's injury related. A lot of it seems to be when Josh Allen is under heavy amounts of pressure, he reverts back to an inferior version of his full game, which, hey, guess what? That makes him a quarterback in the NFL. The Falcons are a team, and we're going to keep using this formula until it betrays us, ladies and gentlemen. The Bills, let's double check. The formula that we've been using the last 3 weeks has been if the Falcons are playing a team with a winning record, they're going to lose. If they're playing a team with a winning record, they're going to win. Or, sorry, they're playing a team with a winning record, they're going to lose. And if they're playing a team with a losing record, they will win. Let's double check. We already know that the Buffalo Bills have a winning record. The Buffalo Bills are 9-6. The formula is quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. The Falcons are going to lose. By the way, the Falcons played really, really well against a backup quarterback for the Detroit Lions. If Jared Goff had played in that game, they were definitely going to lose. They would have gotten smoked, I believe. Big thing to pay attention to in this game, Emmanuel Sanders is going missed practice on Thursday and Friday. He has like a knee strain thing that was going on. So we'll see how that shakes up when it's all said and done. If it does any long-term damage in terms of like his ability to play in the playoffs, because we're starting to see teams making choices. Like we saw what happened with DeAndre Hopkins, right? Where he's basically getting shut down for the remainder of the regular season in the hopes that he will be 100% healthy come the playoffs, which we've seen that pans out a ton of the time, right? That pans out exactly how a lot of teams plan it out to happen. Other stuff going on. The Giants are taking on the Bears. We've already talked about how the Giants will be without their starting center. The Bears, we'll see who, honestly, guys, man, it's been the Bears got a huge win last week versus the Seattle Seahawks, mainly because the Seahawks did that thing where they don't score in the second half of the game, which, of course, my personal favorite thing that they do, right? Like, I love it when a team that is more talented than a lot of teams in the NFL just shuts down in the second half of the game for some magical reason, mostly due to the vanilla play calling that's happening up front. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy talking to a microphone, right? I will. Man, you know what? I'm going to be civilized about it. These are two of the better defenses in the NFL, right? Like, we're talking about Daniel Jones and Justin Fields playing in this game. Justin Fields is back. Sorry, my bad. Let me double check. Did something else come out about this? Hold on. Last time I checked, Justin Fields is playing this game. But I guess only time will tell. And when I say time, yeah. No, never mind. It has changed. Justin Fields will not be playing in this game. He's got an ankle injury, but for some reason, Matt Nagy still doesn't get it. The secret to actually saving his job is to continue to play Justin Fields if he's available. But hey, it's over anyway. So I guess he's just going for the dubs. You kind of like that, right? Like if he's in this situation where he doesn't want to play Justin Fields because he knows that Andy Dalton gives them a better chance to win, which, by the way, in this case, he actually does, because Daniel Jones is probably Daniel Jones coming off an injury. So the struggle is going to be real. Not only just like the regular real for the Giants and stuff like that. It's all right. So I guess I should just do like a full breakdown of how each one of these teams plays. The Chicago Bears are a team that has a pretty strong run game combined with a very high-level defense. You've seen it multiple times. Their run defense is pretty on point. What their best ability turns out to be is like stopping people from being able to make like deep passes down the field or anything like that. But for the most part, like this is one of the best defenses in the NFL that is hampered by the fact that they have to make up for one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Like, overall, resoundingly, without question, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And a lot of that bad offense is due to the massive string of injuries that have happened for the wide receivers over a long period of time. Like Kadarius Toney started off the season pretty well, and he's out. He's been out for like weeks at this point. Same thing with Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton missed like an entire month of football, and he was supposed to be like their number one guy, right? He's back now, and he's like the only guy that's out there. They had John Ross out there, who at some points actually looked like he could be a viable wide receiver option for them. He's been out for weeks at this point. They also are missing another wide receiver in Colin Johnson, who I honestly have not seen play all that much, mainly because I don't watch the Giants play. When I watch the Giants play, it's not the wide receivers I concern myself with. It's the defense, because the defense is the only watchable part of their team. But for the most part, man, this is two of the better defenses in the NFL, and if it comes down to quarterback play being more helping a team be more successful, you're going to pick Andy Dalton over Daniel Jones or anybody else who's starting for the Giants without question, because Andy Dalton is very similar into the sense of like Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he's in training camp with a rookie quarterback, or if he's in training camp with a less experienced quarterback, he's going to dominate that person because he knows all the tips and the tricks and stuff like that. And every time we've seen Andy Dalton play, he's the only person that seems to have, like, out of all the quarterbacks, because Justin Fields obviously is a rookie in the NFL, playing with a team that he's never played with before, playing with the team after years and years of playing with Ohio State, right? The team that's always got the best of the best talent at every single position. He's at a situation where he's like in the bottom 10 offensive talent-wise because Allen Robinson's been in and out of the lineup consistently throughout the course of the season. Darnell Mooney looks like he could be an emerging wide receiver, but it's going to take a lot more in terms of pass protection for those opportunities to open up. The Bears have found their run game, which is going to help them a ton because I'm pretty sure they're about to smack the shit out of the Giants in this game. So I feel pretty good about the Bears winning in this one. So that's strangely enough because of my faith in the consistency of Andy Dalton, which is weird to believe in. But the Chiefs and the Bengals, this is huge. The Bengals are coming off of a massive win to basically secure a playoff spot. They've basically secured themselves a playoff spot, right? The Chiefs are the only team in the AFC, if I'm recalling correctly, the only team in the AFC that has locked up a playoff spot out of all the like I said before, there are 6 playoff spots locked up. 8 are still available. The rest, all the wild cards are still available. So that's 4. And then the other ones are divisional titles that have not been claimed by anyone. So I'm trying to double check because I'm pretty sure the Chiefs are the only AFC team that has for sure locked up their division. But the Bengals, coming off of that massive win last week versus the Ravens, 41-21, playing against not Tyler Huntley, but Josh Johnson, of all people, to go out there. And, of course, that goes a long way in terms of, like, determining, how you look and assess the Bengals. But at the end of the day, what goes in the record count? What goes in the record column, right? Like, what gets you one step closer to getting a playoff spot? Clinched, the only team that has clinched a playoff spot in the AFC is the Kansas City Chiefs. All the other playoff spots that have been clinched are NFC teams, and they've been divisional spots. None of the wild cards are locked in. But that being said, this game should be interesting because if there's one thing that's been inconsistent about the Bengals, it's their defensive presence, right? The Bengals, as a whole, have really, really struggled to maintain defensive pressure consistently across the board. That's why you see stuff like what happened when they played against the Raiders in comparison to what happened when they played against the Ravens the first time and the second time, all that kind of stuff like that. It's been a struggle to see them play consistently. On top of that, they've also got the NFL leader in interceptions at the quarterback position, but also one of the best playmakers when it comes to throwing the ball down the field in Joe Burrow, right? And that's gonna be what determines this whole situation. The Chiefs have shown you they may be a bend but don't break type of defense, right? Like when they get into the red zone, they turn into like a whole different type of monster. But there's one thing that they have consistently done, and that is create turnovers since they had that little reemergence on Monday Night Football, right? And the Chiefs as a whole, of course, massive playmaking team. They're getting Travis Kelce back off of the COVID reserve team, all that kind of stuff like that. We saw Tyreek Hill not give the ball a ton of time last week, right? And I think that in the end is going to wear out and pay out for the Chiefs overall. They are I think the Chiefs get the win in this one. The Dolphins are taking on the Titans. The Dolphins are the magical darling team of the NFL. Right now, they are the team that started off the season losing 7 in a row. They've now won 8 in a row, and they have all but if they get this win versus the Dolphins win this game versus the Titans, they kind of secure themselves in a playoff spot. If they lose, and then I think it's, you know what, I promised myself I wasn't going to get into playoff scenarios until it became like massively important, but this is a situation where the Dolphins don't win this game versus the Titans and then somebody else wins. They basically like eliminate themselves from the playoffs with a loss in this one. But what we've seen consistently is the Dolphins have been playing teams that are massively hampered at the quarterback position. Not to say that Tua is not going out there and playing really well, which I believe he's still doing. I think Tua is still playing slightly above average more often than not, and that pans out really well for a team that has one of the worst offensive lines in the. As a matter of fact, if they made the playoffs, they would hands down have the worst offensive line in the playoffs, which of course sets them up to get absolutely smoked by whatever team that they play. And it's also why their run game is terrible, right? But yeah, versus the Titans, this could be a great opportunity for the Titans to get a clutch win. We've seen consistently throughout the course of this season, the secondary struggles have been there, but the pressure that they create defensively up front has been something that they can count on, and I think that could be a game changer in this one, man. I really want to say the Titans go out here and get this win versus the Dolphins, because I look at the Dolphins' offense as still not threatening enough to be really super concerned about, but these teams are good at the positions where each other are weak. Like the Titans' defensive line, not even the front seven, the Titans' defensive line is significantly better than the offensive line for the Dolphins, right? The Titans' secondary is significantly weaker in comparison to the wide receiver group for the Dolphins. And you have to wonder how that's going to pan out. But pressure in the face of a quarterback that gets flushed out of the pocket, it comes down to like the creativity of the wide receivers to find lanes to get open with. And man, it makes me want to pick the Dolphins just because they are supernova hot. Like an 8-game win streak in the NFL is unheard of, right? Even for the top tier, like number 1 seed, kind of like the situation with the Packers, right? Like the Packers, in the course of this like huge win streak that they've been on, right? The games that they've played to get to the position where they're going to be the number 1 seed, or they're close to being the number 1 seed, getting it locked up, because I think this week they can lock it up. They still find ways to fumble it up a little bit, but this is the best quarterback, not only throwing wise but also mobility wise, that the Dolphins have faced in like a month and a half. So I think the Titans are going to go out here and get this win. I'll take the Titans in that one. Sorry, let me write that down so I don't change my picks when I go to my app. And then I said the Chiefs to get this one, right? Yeah. Chiefs on that one. Other stuff. The Raiders are taking on the Colts. The Colts will not have Carson Wentz in this game. He has tested positive for COVID-19. Hopefully him and his family are all right, because as we know, Carson is unvaccinated. And if there's anything that I can tell you right now, based off of whatever I have, because we suspect that it is COVID, I don't know how y'all do this when it's like full-fledged on you or anything like that. And I work out pretty consistently. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you I'm in shape or whatever. You can physically see me on this camera. I'm not in shape, but the fact of the matter is like, I run multiple miles every week. I eat vegetables on a regular basis, and I am only 29 years old, and what's happening right now is either one of the worst allergy attacks I've ever had in my entire life, or it's a nasty cold, or it's COVID-19. It's one of those 3 things that's going on right now, and it's supposed to be Omicron, which is a quote-unquote weaker version of COVID-19, and I'm vaccinated. Hopefully Carson is all right. Hopefully his family is all right. I know he's got a little daughter as well, who is adorable, by the way. So hopefully his whole family is going to be all right. This stuff is real out here in these streets, that's for sure. The Raiders are taking on the Colts. There is a situation going on with like Derek Carr where they suspect that, like, people are talking about he's going to miss time. If I've seen anything out of Derek Carr that has remained consistent, he don't want Nathan Peterman to touch the field not one time. They do have Marcus Mariota coming off a COVID-19 reserve list or whatever. But there was a situation last week when they were playing against the Broncos where all the signs pointed to Nathan Peterman going onto the field until the offense walked onto the field. Like, Nathan Peterman had his helmet on and everything. Like, Derek Carr had to get taken off the field into the blue tent. He got out in like mere seconds before the next offensive series started, which was important because I think if Nathan Peterman had an entire offensive series, the Broncos, who, by the way, did everything in their power, the defense did everything in their fucking power except score a touchdown in that game to win it. And Drew Lock just couldn't figure it out. He had a couple of good throws, but for the most part, man, like, a lot of the stuff was like the throwing into the flats, throwing the checkdowns. He depended heavily upon like the big run game that they've been having that shows up consistently, which is nice to have things other than your quarterback be able to throw the ball down the field, to have like a run game that can actually move up the field and all that kind of stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, it's like he's not Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater makes that team run, and of course, he's not Teddy. That's why Teddy started, right? So the Raiders at the Colts. The whole injury situation is a little weird. They will not. The Colts will not have Carson Wentz, which there have been multiple games. You have to wonder if you were watching the Colts play, which I have. You have to wonder, what is that win above replacement percentage for Carson Wentz in comparison to like Sam Ehlinger? I guess we're gonna find out this week. So. Like I said, 5 for 12 1 week. He has multiple games where he's thrown under 20 passes in a full NFL game. So yeah, you have to wonder like what his major impact is on it, except for the fact that he doesn't throw interceptions, which By the way, like, remember earlier this season, he actually was throwing a bunch of interceptions, but the second that he stopped doing that, the Colts all of a sudden got really good, and they got healthy, right? Like, all at the same time. But Carson Wentz catching COVID, bad times. Especially considering they have no chance of getting the AFC South, especially if the Titans beat the Dolphins. There is no way that the Colts can feasibly win the AFC South unless like 10 other teams lose or something like that. But that's a real thing. That's a real possibility. That's a real situation. My money is still on the fact that the Colts have one of the strongest run offenses in the NFL, and then on top of that have one of the better defenses in the NFL, and a lot of that high-quality defense comes from the secondary up front. Last year it was because they were getting a shit ton of pressure on quarterbacks. This year it's because they've got guys like Moore. They've got guys that are killing it in the secondary for them this year that have generated a bunch of turnovers. And then, of course, they have one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL in Darius Leonard. So I'm banking on the Colts to go out here and get this win, mainly because the Colts offense has already proven that they have multiple avenues to win games, and a lot of them are not centered around their quarterback being successful. Other games going on: Jaguars taking on the Patriots. The Jaguars are going to Gillette Stadium, by the way. I think and I'm sure they're going to bring it up a bunch on the broadcast. The last time they went to Gillette was when they lost that game, right? When they lost that game that like changed the very direction of their entire franchise, where they almost beat the Patriots and got to the AFC Championship game. That one, or was it when they beat the Patriots and then lost to the Steelers? No. Anyway, Jaguars at Patriots. This one should be interesting. The Patriots are still fighting for a playoff spot. They're getting further and further away from being able to win the AFC East, so they just need to get as many wins as they possibly can, because that is their only hope in terms of being successful in the long run. That is their only hope in terms of being successful in terms of getting that wild card 1 spot, because the wild card 2 spot, you don't want that one. No, nobody wants that one. You're on the road the entire playoffs regardless of the situation, right? And I will point this out. They are split head-to-head with the Patriots. They are split head-to-head with the Bills, who they lost to last week, right? They both have the same record, 9-6. So at the very least, they need to keep pace to get the wins on board, because I think the Bills currently hold all the tiebreakers. They are also in a strange place where they are on a 2-game losing streak. Because like we said before, the Patriots, Dolphins, and the Bills are all in the playoff hunt right now, and only one of those teams is on a losing streak, and it is the Patriots somehow when it was all said and done. Strangely enough, but they've had a tough go of it the last couple of weeks. So they played the Bills, lost to them 33-21. They played the Colts. That was the Thursday night game, 27-17, right? No, that was the Saturday game. That was the Saturday game that actually did happen. The other Saturday game did not. Then they played the Bills the week before that, and they beat them by 4 points. That was the snow game, not the tsunami game, the blizzard game, right? Then they played the Titans, smoked the Titans 36-13, right? That's what gave us all major concern about the Titans as a whole. They shut out the Falcons. Then they played the Browns 45-7. And it's just really weird because this team looks so dominant for like an entire month. Looked like they were going to be running away with the AFC East again, and they were going to be able to shit on Bills fans yet again. They're taking their natural place in the ecosystem of sports and be able to shit on Bills fans. But that sadly that's not looking like it's going to happen for them, but only time will tell. A couple more weeks left. Some things could shake their way, and they can take advantage of it. Open the door of opportunity, and I feel like Bill Belichick is always going to be the guy who's ready to walk through it, right? Other stuff going on. Sorry about that. Yeah, do I need to give you an explanation for why I think the Patriots are going to beat the Jaguars? I think the Patriots will beat the Jaguars because they are one of the best teams at generating turnovers in the NFL, and it is not accidental. It is because they create such a small margin for error that very few quarterbacks are going to be consistently successful in throwing the ball down the field for them. And then also the Jaguars have a bunch of wide receivers who are hurt. So it's that plus rookie quarterback versus Bill Belichick and also home field advantage. That's a free one. That's a layup, ladies and gentlemen. That's free money. Don't get weird with it in terms of like, if it's a minus 14 or whatever, don't get weird with it. Buccaneers at Jets. This one should be the Buccaneers already clinched their playoff spot. My bad. Let me check. Buccaneers have already clinched the NFC South. By the way, the most uneventful year in the NFC South in quite some time. And that being said, that this year the Saints beat the Buccaneers like 6-0. Most uneventful year in the NFC South in years. So strange. So strange. Like we came into the season, we knew the Falcons were going to be. We all thought the Falcons were going to be really bad because that's how life hands it out to you, right? Like you think the Falcons are going to be bad, one, because they haven't built a high-quality defense in the course of the last couple of years where they've had some pretty high draft picks since that Super Bowl loss. They're still paying Matt Ryan a shit ton of money, which is hampering their salary cap overall. They've selected and drafted a high-quality multiple high-quality wide receivers, Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage. Those are really good football players that you can keep on your team that are not Julio Jones, that are going to go out there and make big plays for you. They drafted Kyle Pitts. They've got seemingly a running back for the next 2 years, maybe Cordero Patterson and Mike Davis. But the fact of the matter is, they play zero defense. They are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They're one of the few defenses in the NFL that has surrendered over 400 points. The only other team that has surrendered also over 400 points are the Washington football team at 407. Not even joking. You can watch them play. They play really. I'm sorry. The Jets have also surrendered. The Chargers, one of the worst rush. Once again, the Chargers, the worst rush defense in the NFL. No wonder they surrendered. And then of course the Texans. So you're in that category. That tells you all you need to know. The Saints, obviously, their quarterback situation stopped them from being what we think could be massively successful. And then plus Alvin Kamara being hurt multiple times throughout the course of the year, which at this point, it's not even the way that he plays, just the amount of attention that he garners, and people know that they got to get him down as soon as possible. You know that he's just going to be hurt because he touches the ball so much and so many people have to hit him. The Panthers, a team that had high hopes for a minute and currently on a 5-game losing streak. Once again, quarterback situation. And then on top of that, high-level defense and then their offense loses not only 3 quarterbacks this season? No, 2 quarterbacks. They lost Sam Darnold because he's not their starter, and then they lost Cam Newton, who's not their starter. And now they're in this back and forth type situation where they're playing spring ball for college football teams. Where they're you're going to get 2 series in a row, and then he's going to get 2 series in a row. We'll figure it out from there, type stuff, right? And then of course combine that with the fact that Christian McCaffrey once again season-ending injury, back-to-back seasons ended early, and he's a massive part of their offense. That sums up the NFC South. And that being said, the Buccaneers have not looked untouchable throughout the course of this season. They have looked rough in multiple games this year, and somehow still, like I said before, uneventful NFC South season. And that's including a game where the NFC South champion got shut out and lost a game 9-0 to a team that had, was he out there? I think he was out there. No, it was Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian was the quarterback for the 9-0 game. In their last 2 games of the season, they played the Buccaneers, a team that they beat last week 32-6. Is their final game of the season, and they've already clinched the division, so it doesn't matter. So they're probably going to pull a bunch of people because they don't want any shenanigans from the Panthers. And then the Buccaneers are playing the Jets. You want to talk about a way to cruise into the playoffs with a chance to fight for a high level seed when it's all said and done, because they have 11 wins on the season because they played absolutely terrible teams throughout the course of this year. They played their whole division multiple times, right? So they played the Panthers twice in the latter half of the season when the Panthers are already off the rails. They played the Falcons, a team that can't beat a team that has a winning record. Literally, by the laws of physics, they cannot beat a team that has a winning record. They played the Bills. That's a tough team. They played the Colts. They've played the Giants. So that's 5 teams that are god-awful in the NFL. They played the Washington football team, a team that's been up and down, very sketchy. They played the Bears, 6. They have been one of the teams. They were one of the teams that beat the Dolphins in the course of the season when they were on their losing streak. They also have played the Rams, which is a tough team. The Patriots, and then they played the Cowboys, tough team. They played the Texans. That's 7, right there. I'm sorry, that was preseason. Yeah, they opened the season versus the Cowboys with a clutch win there. So they've got 6 teams that they played this season that are just terrible. They have 11 wins. You know what I mean? They've had a lot of key moments, and they almost let the Bills come back. They almost let the Bills come back on them a couple weeks ago. Don't forget that part. Whatever. You know how it goes. I legally cannot bet against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers or any team that Tom Brady plays for in the playoffs because the rules say so. But yeah, I'll take the Bucs versus the Jets out here. I'll be interested to see how this shakes out because they are missing. They're getting Mike Evans back. Antonio Brown's questionable, and then they've lost multiple players on defense. They only have 2 inside linebackers, so there's that. No big deal. Huge divisional game for the Eagles coming up here. They'll be playing against the Washington football team for the second time in 3 weeks. Really second time in 14 days because they had to play 2 games in 5 days, right? They were one of the teams that got moved. Eagles are taking on the Washington football team. This could, once again, both of these teams are the Eagles are in a must-win situation from here on out. They have to win every single game or they're toast. The quarterbacks, by the way, if you forgot last week, the Washington football team had all their quarterbacks catch COVID, and they got pulled from the depth chart. So the Washington football team is going to have their quarterbacks coming back out here. The Eagles have found a way to look like a consistently good football team. It's just a question of if they're going to show up. So hopefully that's going to be the case when we look at this in the long run of things. Hopefully, the Eagles are going to come out here and establish the run game. We've already talked about how Washington is one of the worst defenses in the NFL in terms of points surrendered. You do have to also take into factor the first portion of the season. They were just flat out, like the first 5-6 games of the season, they were terrible. And they've progressively gotten better as the season has gone on defensively. But yeah, the Eagles, as a whole, I'm banking on the offense to come through for him, man. I really am. I know Jalen Hurts had some moments where he looked kind of rough, but the fact of the matter is, Jalen Hurts goes out there and make plays like we've seen him do the last month. Basically, even after he came back from his injury, right before that time period, right. Nick Sirianni, once again, you got to be really impressed with a guy who was able to adjust his offense in the course of a season and admit that he was wrong, or admit that his coaching staff and he were wrong about how they were supposed to be managing and running the team, to adjust it to the point where it comes up with positive results. You got to love it. And I think that those capabilities are what's going to help him out in this one. So I'll take the Eagles, even though this is a divisional matchup, and honestly, this could be where the Eagles' playoff hopes come to die. Other big game that's going on in the 1 p.m. time slot, the biggest game in the 1 p.m. time slot, let's be for real. The Rams are taking on the Ravens. This could kill the Ravens' playoff hopes. This could officially kill the Ravens' playoff ability, and we are unsure if Lamar Jackson is going to be playing. He is currently questionable. He did not practice Thursday or Friday, but he did practice for the first time in 2 weeks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then which they say people didn't practice on Friday, but it's they really got you out here really practicing on Friday. It's like New Year's Eve. Anyway, the Rams are coming off of a huge win versus, who did they kill last week? It was actually really fun to watch them play just in general because it seemed like for the first time in a long time they were looking real smooth. But yeah, they played the Vikings last week, which of course makes everybody look smooth. The Vikings almost did that. They did that thing again where they come back and then they stop scoring points, where they almost win the game and then they lose by 1 possession for the 9th time this season, straight up. I think it's 11 times. I think it's the 11th time that's happened to the Vikings this season. Hold on, let me do the quick math here. So it's 1. They beat the Bears. Let's see. Last game they lost. That's 1. They lost to the Vikings by. They lost to the Lions by 2. 1 possession. That's 2 in total. They lost to the 49ers by 10. No, they lost to the 49ers by 8. 1 possession. That's 3. They beat the Packers by 3. Who they're playing on Sunday Night Football, which would be clutch. They beat the Chargers by 1, so that's another one. They lost to the Ravens by 3 points. They lost to the Cowboys by 5. They lost to they beat the Panthers. Sorry, they lost to the Browns by a touchdown. They lost to the Lions. Oh no, they beat the Lions by 2. They lost to the Lions, so that's 6 in total. We're in week 17. And they've played 16 games this season, and 6 of their 16 games have been them losing by. Actually, make that 7 because they lost to the Cardinals by 1 point. The Chiefs, they lost to by 3, so that's 8. They have lost to the Bengals by 3. That was the second game of the season. So that's 9. 9 out of the 16 games this season have been losses by the Vikings. Yeah, 9 of their 16 games have been losses by 1 possession or less. and only one of them was by 8 points. Everything else is by like 3 or 7. So all of them winnable games. Shout out Kirk Cousins. This is a major game for the Rams as a whole. They've already clinched their playoff spot, but if they want to make a move, or actually, the Rams are the only team. Sorry, I messed that up. The NFC West is the only division in the NFC that is not clinched as of now, because the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, I have to get this off the top of my head. The Rams' last 2 games of the season, they will be playing against the Ravens, and then they play the 49ers. The Cardinals have another divisional game here pretty soon. Yeah, they play the Seahawks to end the season, and they play the Cowboys. The Cowboys, if they lose to the Cardinals, will not be eligible for the number 1 seed overall. I believe that's how that works, because they would be 1 game behind the Rams, and then the Rams have the potential to clinch the division if the Seahawks beat the Cardinals. So, yeah, we weren't trying to. I was trying not to get into that, but there we are. We are into it. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, that's the situation. Rams versus Ravens, though. The Ravens have been slowly falling apart as the season has gone on. They really, literally, it's like driving a car and then like the front bumper falls off, the hubcap falls off on the right hand wheel, the rim falls out of the back left one, then the muffler falls off, and then the windshield wipers peel off. The antenna falls off the front part there. The hood pops up, but it doesn't fall off the car completely. It's just kind of dangling by like one of the bolts on the right-hand side kind of deal. The window cracks in the back seat, like that kind of stuff. That's what's been happening to them as they've been trying with all their might to drive their way towards the playoffs. And honestly, it would be a goddamn shame if they didn't actually end up being a playoff team, because there is ever a team that has overcome the most this season to get to the point where they're a couple of wins away from a playoff spot, it is the Ravens. Without question. But this will be interesting to see, because the Rams defense has progressively gotten more and more aggressive as the week, especially this last portion of the season. They had a bunch of injuries that held out a lot of people, but I think that this is going to be, especially with Lamar coming off of an ankle injury, who knows how much that's going to actually affect his ability to perform in this game. But the fact of the matter is like the Rams secondary is ridiculous right now. Like, they've generated multiple turnovers in the last 3 games, and the Ravens are a team that, if there is a team that just is willing to give you a turnover or 2 in the course of a game for the sake of like the potential to make a big play down the sideline, I think it is the Ravens. The Ravens do have the ability to make every single game close. That's just how they do it. That's how they've done it this entire season. But I feel like the Ravens are going in all the wrong directions, and the Rams, they're peaking at the right time, man. Like, they're getting Cam Akers back. They're getting Darrell Henderson Jr. back here pretty soon. And I think that can go a long way in terms of their ability to establish themselves as a Super Bowl contender, because I'm like a week away from saying the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. Tell me if we've been there before. But yeah, Lamar Jackson being back after missing basically 2 straight weeks of practice is going to be massive for the Ravens. And it'll be a game changer, because we saw Tyler Huntley go out there 2 games in a row, look like a starter, right? And then it fell off the wagon when Josh Johnson went out there, because, Josh Johnson got the gig last second type stuff. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Bruce Arians has COVID. And so their interim head coach is a guy that their interim head coach, I think, works special teams or whatever, and they actually asked him about how Bruce Arians told him that he was going to be the interim head coach for Sunday. He said, Bruce Arians called me at a time that he doesn't normally call me that early in the morning, and he was just like, hey, I need you to do your thing for this COVID thing. And he's like, all right, and then they hung up the phone. Bruce said that he actually didn't even want to be in the Zoom meetings for the team, because he wanted nobody to question whatsoever who the interim head coach was going to be. He knows that he had enough faith in his interim head coach to be like, you don't need me looking over your shoulder. Legitimately just giving him a full-on tryout with one of the best teams in the NFL against one of the worst teams in the NFL. So hopefully he's going to make him look good. And this is major. Like, I think this is massive. Also, rumors are starting to swirl that, the Jags are sniffing around the Buccaneers for their next head coach. And if the Bucs are smart, they will they'll kick him in the nose and make him go away, because You don't want to break up the squad. That's just facts. And that's how the Super Bowl works, right? Like everybody, you win the Super Bowl, and then everybody wants all your coaches all the time, right? This is how it goes. Other stuff going on in the NFL. We got 2 4 p.m. games. No, 4 4 p.m. games. Big 5, actually. Wow. Okay. We'll talk about heavy scheduling. God damn. Let's run through this one real quick. The Broncos are taking on the Chargers. I have a strange feeling this one is going to be a one-possession game that the Chargers win. Although the Chargers are coming off of a very, very hilarious loss to the Texans, which apparently didn't kill their ability to make the playoffs. I thought like them losing to the Texans essentially killed their playoff hopes. Like legitimately stopped them from being able to make the playoffs at all because of they don't need to. I know they're not going to win the NFC East or the AFC West. I know they're not going to win that because the Chargers have it, right? But the fact of the matter is, I thought they were like completely cooked. I really did. They thought, and like once again, the Chargers haven't made the playoffs since 2018, so them making it this year would be massive for a very, very young team when it's all said and done. But this is weird. Them losing to Houston didn't kill their playoff hopes, and now they just need some weird scenario to go down that I'm not going to say on this show. Maybe we'll talk about it if they get to the next phase of it, because all the scenarios have to be, guess what? They have to win their last 2 games of the season, and they have to beat the Denver Broncos, who have their interesting quarterback situation going on, right? So I have faith that the Chargers are a more talented team. I really do know that the Broncos are not to be fucked with in terms of they're a team that literally can beat any team. They're capable of beating any team. You saw that's why they embarrassed the Cowboys. Like, remember, the Broncos were the team that absolutely exposed the Cowboys and sent them spiraling for a month and a half earlier in this season. Seems like it was just yesterday. But nonetheless, I'll take the Chargers in this one. Texans are taking on the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's back in. The Texans are going to San Francisco. They will face off. Kyle Shanahan to face off against his former team that he should have never left. But they will also be without Jimmy Garoppolo, which means young Lance will be making his appearance. And based off of the way that Davis Mills has been playing, the Texans might be on a win streak here in a second. On a 3-game win streak because they're already on a 2-game one, right? Like they're already on a 2-game win streak because they've won their last 2 games, which is crazy to think about. But also, the turnover situation is going to be massive in this one because I don't know if Davis Mills is evolving and learning or anything like that. But if Trey Lance comes out here and throws a bunch of picks, or like throws like multiple interceptions, because by the way, that was the undoing of the Chargers versus the Texans. They had multiple interceptions that players made great plays to go and get. It wasn't like he just threw it to a defender. It was literally safeties and corners making excellent plays, especially considering that I think they had like 19 people in COVID protocol last week for the Texans, and that was the most impressive part. That was the most absurd, stupid part. It was like the Lions beating the Cardinals, right? Like the absurd, stupid part is like, oh wow, they played their best game of the entire season when they're supposed to be at their absolute lowest as a franchise, and here we are. So, but yeah, this will be interesting because I'll tell you this much right now: Trey Lance wins this game. You already know what the deal is, baby. They're going to be calling his name, especially since the 49ers not in a great position to come up with a playoff spot right now. If you don't know, the 49ers are 8-7 on the season, which is great. They're having a winning season because last year was like a disaster. Remember, they were like losing games. Plus, Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and missed most of the last season. And then on top of that, the team also had like spent too much of the salary cap, and they literally were like, we can't sign dudes off of our practice squad to our main roster because we can't sign them to a minimum contract, a minimum salary cap deal. So, yeah, that's how bad it was for the 49ers last year. For them to be 8-7, pretty impressive. And then there's my Seattle Seahawks at 5-10. So that's rough. That's rough. We don't need to talk about that. We don't. Unless you just like hearing me suffer and hurt. Some of you do. All right. As you can tell, the mucus is starting to build up again, ladies and gentlemen, which means we probably need to wrap this up. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and I haven't checked my phone in like 30 minutes, so I'm assuming it is completely annihilated with people saying, Happy New Year. So here's that. Shout out to my worst New Year's ever. Hands down, without question. And I've been at work multiple times on New Year's Eve. This is the worst one, hands down. I will take the. I like the 49ers a lot. I'll take the four. Whoa. This is the game that looks very winnable for the Texans, and this is the game that they're going to get smoked in. I know how this works. They're trying to trick me. But there's not too many times this season I've been able to pick the Texans, mainly because when the defense plays well, the offense plays terrible, and then when the offense plays like average, the defense plays slightly below average, and then they get smoked or whatever. But the defense has been really consistent across the board, and if this is a rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback type situation, it seems as of right now, Davis Mills, one, has gotten the most. He's gotten the most shots off, right? Like, he's the one who's the warmest in terms of his familiarity with his offense and stuff like that. I'll take the Texans. I'm going to regret this instantly, but I'll take the Texans. Let me write that in. Yeah, I'll take the Texans in the upset. And I think a lot of people are probably going to end up taking them because they know that Jimmy G's not going to play, or he's doubtful to play is the situation. Don't forget that. By the way, apparently this week was the first week since August a 49ers player has tested positive for COVID-19. They had a punter, Mitch Wisnowski, became the first player to go on the COVID list for the 49ers since August. Turns out those California rules actually kind of effective at stopping COVID. Who would have thought? Probably also people who are very dedicated to making the right decision in terms of preventing the spread of COVID-19. Cardinals at Cowboys. This is a Fox game. This is massive. Like I said before, the Cowboys lose this. They are not eligible for the number one seed anymore because they would need 2 wins to overcome the Cardinals and the Rams. This is massive. The Cardinals have looked like complete ass, and the Cowboys are coming off of a massive foot up the ass of the Washington football team, which I'm assuming they enjoyed quite a bit. They've swept them for, is it 3 years in a row? I think it's 3 years in a row they swept the Washington football team, which is impressive to say for a divisional rival. This is facts. But yeah, overall, what we're seeing right now, the Cardinals' lack of playmaking at the wide receiver position, a.k.a. DeAndre Hopkins, right, has really been struggling significantly. The Cowboys also probably are going to have Tyron Smith in this game, so the pass rush is going to be diminished. Their offensive line their offensive line is drastically different when Tyron Smith is in and not in, right? But with him in the lineup, Dak with more time to be able to throw the ball is going to be bad news for a Cardinals defense that actually in the middle portion of the season looked like they were on fucking fire. But as time has gone on, they've really struggled to show any form of that team that we saw in the middle portion of the season, early on in the season as well, which is interesting because you have to wonder what's changed, right? And you have to immediately point to the fact that it's like maybe the opponents are better than when they had that good stint and good defense, because one of their best games of the entire year was when they played Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers in that divisional matchup when they had 2 wide receiver fumbles, which is like damn near impossible in the NFL, but somehow the 49ers figured out how to do it in a single game. I think they actually did it 3 times, but they had 2 in the first half, and those turned into touchdowns immediately, and they set up Colt McCoy to be successful instantly. But yeah, no, I'm going to go with the Cowboys, man. I'm picking the Cowboys in this one, not because they're coming off of that big win over the Washington football team that literally means nothing because it's a divisional game. And they had Blaine Gabbert in there, right? Or is Garrett Gilbert? They have Garrett Gilbert in there. And he actually did not play like complete ass. He just didn't make big plays to be able to keep up with the Cowboys. This is facts. You can go back and watch the game. It was tough. It was a tough situation to be in, to be like a 4-string quarterback on the team. And yeah. So yeah. No, I'm picking the Cowboys in this one based off of the fact that their offense, the Cowboys' offense, seems to have gotten somewhat back to what they looked like the first 2 months of the season, and the Cardinals are once again collapsing as the back half of the year has come along. I know they've had James Conner in and out of the lineup. Well, James Conner's been playing, but he's been playing hurt, but everybody's hurt, right? DeAndre Hopkins being out, massive. It was massive when DeAndre Hopkins didn't play for the Texans. Why would it not be massive when he doesn't play for the Cardinals? He's one of the best playmaking wide receivers in the NFL. Panthers at Saints in this one. Wow, this is the Sadness Bowl. This is the not last place bowl. The Falcons, in theory, are going to lose, and if the Saints win this, they would take outright second place in the NFC South. If that means anything, which it doesn't, because they would mean you still have a losing record. You wouldn't make the playoffs. But yeah, the Panthers are taking on the Saints. If you haven't heard the situation with the Panthers, they're kind of like fluctuating back and forth between quarterbacks. And then the Saints, of course, they had all of their quarterbacks catch COVID. And if you don't know, one of their quarterbacks really heavily depended upon his cardio to be able to run away from defenses. So I'm sure that'll go over well. It has got to be really frustrating to be a Saints fan knowing that you have one of the best defenses. Like you have a top 3 defense in the NFL and you have a bottom 3 offense to go along with it. Combine that with the fact that they're probably going to have to break up most of the team because of the salary cap situation that's coming up for most of these guys. Speaking of most of these guys, Marcus Williams is not going to be starting in this game. He's got like a knee injury or something like that, so the starting safety for the Saints is out. And this one, I'm sure that's going to go over well. But these are two of the better defenses in the NFC. The Panthers' defense, of course, is like the first half of the season they were spectacular, and the second half turns out like when you don't have complementary offense, you really fall apart, like in a bad way, because it is exhausting playing high-level defense in the NFL for long periods of time. I will take the Saints with their mystery quarterback. Take the Saints for the mystery QB. And on that note, we should be coming towards the end. Oh, my God. We have 2 more games. 3? Yeah, we have 3 games left. The Lions are taking on the Seahawks. By the way, Tim Boyle is starting at quarterback for the Lions. So I'll be taking the Seahawks in this one, ladies and gents. I saw Tim Boyle play against the Falcons last week. To his credit, he made a lot of really good plays. He actually got them. He got the defense for the Lions got them into a game-winning situation. And then Tim Boyle threw an interception. So, yeah, tough times. I'll take the Seahawks in this one. That was pretty easy. I have a lot more faith in the Seahawks defense than most people do. And I have faith that, you know what, I just have faith in the Seahawks defense right now. Vikings at Packers. No Kirk Cousins. Give me the Packers for 500, please. Because there's one team that loves to embarrass its divisional opponents, and when I say team, I mean Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure the rest of the guys on the team love to do it too. But when you have an opportunity to smack a team that could potentially be a playoff team, you definitely want to take advantage of the opportunity to do that. And I think that they should, and they will in this one. So with that being said, ladies and gents, I will leave you in this game with that Sunday Night Football. Also, super sad part, Adam Thielen's out for the rest of the season, too, because of an ankle injury. If you watched last week's game, it was, taped up and spatted and everything like that. And he got, wrap tackled around the leg, and he was down as if somebody had taken a sword and sliced the back of his Achilles multiple times. And, yeah, and he came back and played. I don't know what drives that guy to play like that or whatever, but he came back and played, and then he got tackled again, and he was down in a very similar position. We move on to Monday Night Football, something that is probably going to bring a lot of people, like myself, great amount of joy. The Steelers got cooked by the Kansas City Chiefs. We got a remix of last year's super sad Ben Roethlisberger moment, which we all really appreciated. Me personally, I appreciated it a bunch. But combine that with the fact that now Ben Roethlisberger's basically been saying to Brooke Pryor and every reporter who would listen that this Monday Night Football is probably going to be his last one because the Steelers have 0 playoff hopes. And Big Ben keeps saying it's probably going to be his last game for the Steelers. As if somebody else is going to call him. Which, there are plenty of desperate teams in the NFL. There's no question about that whatsoever. But yeah, we'll see what happens. The Browns are playing at the Steelers. And I would love nothing more than for the Browns to prove why they are still a playoff caliber team, combined with the fact of making sure that Ben Roethlisberger's final memory of him playing for the Steelers in the NFL is a loss. So that'll be his last home game in theory because the Steelers go on the road to play, hold on, it is not the Browns again. That would be hilarious if they play the Browns at home for their last game ever because if you know, they play the Ravens at Baltimore, so they'll play in the bank one more time. But if you don't know, one of the greatest weird things in the NFL. So the Texans have look up the Texans record in Lucas Oil Stadium. Hold on, let me check it right now. Houston Texans record in Lucas Oil Stadium. This will make sense once I explain it. If it comes up. Hold on a second here. If it comes up. all-time series. The Colts are 32-9 versus the Texans, and they're 32 in that. Let's see championship game, not that. Anyway, the Texans have like never beaten the Colts in Lucas Oil Stadium, their home arena, and the Browns have essentially never beaten Ben Roethlisberger at home. I think it's like the first time they beat him one time, and it was his rookie season. They've never beaten him. Ben Roethlisberger has like a better win percentage in the Brown Stadium than he does at home and Heinz Field, and he has won like multiple Super Bowls. So, he's won multiple Super Bowls. Yes. So yeah, Monday Night Football. I fingers crossed for the Browns to go out there and kick their ass, because one, they're structurally the better team as the season goes on. I will say this: the Steelers have a lot of the DB wide receiver matchups in this one are going to be crazy. Like, just Denzel Ward versus Chase Claypool is going to be amazing. I pay, once again, OnlyFans. If you can give me that camera angle where it's only on Chase Claypool and Denzel Ward, I'll pay you whatever you want for it. That's gonna be really good to look at, and gonna be a ton of fun. By the way, that is a thing on YouTube where they like show you clips of the best wide receiver DB matchups of the week. You should definitely check it out. It's on the NFL YouTube channel. Check that out. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to break into the year 2022 the only way I know how, and that is to review 2021 for my life overall as we usher out this podcast and then usher in the new year. So, honestly, man, like as a dude who went into I started at Disney like December 21st or something like that. Or December 28th, or just no, it was like December 29th. I got the call that I'm going to be working for Disney, so it was pretty exciting for me as a whole to get that opportunity, because I never thought I legit remember getting my like name tag and it had my name and the ESPN underneath it, and I like cried like in my car during COVID times, so like, orientation was like on your phone in your car type stuff. And I remember crying like in my car because I never thought I would get to even this close. Like as a guy who was just like, I like to talk about sports, so I'm gonna keep doing that until somebody pays me to do it. So this past year for 2021 was major for me. It was my second year being in a relationship. It was my second year being in a relationship with my girlfriend, which is pretty dope. A lot of holidays with her. Made a lot of friends over the internet in 2020 that I got to see in 2021. Of course, like the whole weight thing got way out of control for me physically. So that's something that I'm not even going to say I'm trying to get that under control in 2022, because quite frankly, my goal is to make Team USA Quidditch for 2022. And that has been my goal since 2020, essentially, when I was locked in my room for months on end with nothing to do. So I think I call 2021 pretty dope, especially for a guy who doesn't have much and is trying to figure out if he's actually talented enough to make it in this game. Found out that my energy levels need to be significantly higher overall. I had multiple times throughout the course of 2021 where I just didn't have the energy to do my show. And I got to do better. Not only by the people who support me, whether they even like sports or not, but also just by the people in general who are the future fans of this show. I got to be more consistent. That's the only way to rise in popularity, especially for a guy who's not famous for something else. So, pumped for 2022, I guess. Pumped to be over whatever I have right now and living my best dream, and hopefully not infecting other people and other human beings. Shout out to everybody who listens to the show on a consistent basis. I love you guys. I really appreciate it. I know it's difficult with the way that I do the show, and then on top of that, the technical difficulties have been a major thing as well. That's another thing we're trying to improve in 2021. So on that note, thank you for a great 2021. Let's get an even better 2020. New Year's, no limits.